Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, I'm going to be introducing you to a very special wine indeed. We're going to be talking about and tasting the Smiley Chenin Blanc from Silwervis. This wine, not only does it taste frickin' awesome, but the winemaking process is really fascinating. So a nice little story behind the wine label. The artist who designed the sheep's head logo and the whole wine label is Conrad Bortus, and he was a very prominent anti-apartheid cartoonist or graphic artist during the apartheid era. So pretty cool artistic story behind the wine as well. Before we get tasting, let me tell you a little bit about why this wine is so interesting in terms of how it's been made. So the grapes that go into the Smiley Chenin Blanc come from the Paardeberg region of the Swartland, which is around 60 kilometers north of Cape Town. So it's an area that gets very hot weather and also has granite soil, which is really ideal for making the Chenin Blanc. So Smiley is what we call a multi-vintage wine, which means it's a blend of different vintages, i.e. different years. So what winemaker Ryan Mostert has done is grow Chenin Blanc and make wine from that Chenin Blanc over a variety of years, and then blend the different years together to make the wine we have now. So this one we're going to be tasting is their Vintage 2. So after the Chenin Blanc's been harvested, it's then left to ferment using only natural yeasts rather than adding yeast to the grapes. A fermentation for this wine has taken place in both stainless steel and oak barrels. Now it's the after fermentation part that gets really interesting. Maturation takes place in a combination of oak barrels, stainless steel tanks, and glass demijohns. A portion of the wine is also left to ferment and age using floor aging and madeirization. So floor aging is what happens when you add floor yeast to the wine. And this is how sherry wines from the Jerez region of Spain are actually made. And they give the wines a really unique taste, which is almost salty and quite yeasty in flavor. So the madeirizing technique was actually discovered by accident when barrels of wine were transported on a ship, got really hot, and actually left the wine tasting really nice. So madeirizing basically means just leaving an oak barrel of wine in the sun for a really long time. So now you're starting to see just what a variety of different vintages of Chenin Blanc and different aging styles that the winemaker that made Smiley has got to play around with. So every vintage, what he'll do is take a little bit from different vintages and different aging styles to make a wine that's really unique. Are you starting to see why I find wine so interesting now? Okay, now that I've got the geeky part out of the way, let's get tasting. Let's pour some of this lovely stuff out. It's got a nice light gold color, perfectly clear. Wow, I love this stuff. The first thing that hits me is just this huge waft of saltiness that kind of goes to the back of your mouth and almost makes your mouth water. So if you imagine like sea spray by the ocean, it's really fantastic. Another thing I'm getting is a kind of apricot yogurt creaminess. There's also the creaminess that comes from cashew nuts. Slight hint of lemon zest and a little bit of vanilla as well. And the most wonderful thing about this wine is the fact that every time you take a sniff, you are picking up on something different. And then I'm also picking up a touch of that yeastiness, which one might expect from a wine that's been floor aged. Oh, magical. Initially, the acidity is beautifully zippy, but then also gives way to, again, that sort of yogurt creaminess that I picked up on the nose. So really nice mouthfeel. I'd say this is the light side to medium bodied, and the oak that's been used in the winemaking process is very subtle. It gives more body to the wine rather than being a kind of overwhelming flavor feature of the wine. And then the finish is nice and salty. So if you imagine olive brine, yeah, that olive brine salinity, oh, it's so gorgeous. Also detecting a tiny bit of cantaloupe melon, a little bit of mandarin, and yeah, the very slightly nutty aroma as well. So the reason why this wine is so incredible is that it kind of stimulates you on a mental level, but also 100% satisfies your palate without being inaccessible. You know, you get those really fancy, expensive wines that, you know, people rave about, but then when it comes to drinking, you might actually struggle to drink a whole glass of it. Definitely not the case with this one. And at 130 Rand, this is extremely good value for money. Given just the sheer quality of it. You know, if this wine were 200 Rand, I would happily pay it. Although I probably wouldn't be drinking it so often. Thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you to Sam and Ryan for making such an amazing wine. And I'll see you guys next week for another video.